Okay, Scott, good afternoon. Good to see you.
You too.
Ahead of another international break, 6 games in, you've already played the likes of Liverpool, Man City, Tottenham, Man United. Are you where you want to be in terms of satisfaction, given it's been such a difficult start to the season? How do you feel in terms of your assessment at this stage?
Well, I think there's plenty of things to be positive about. There's also plenty of things that we can improve on and definitely get better. I think perspective has to come into play a little bit as well in terms of the level of what we've played against. I think I've mentioned that a few times. There's no denying we've come up against some extremely talented teams and tough opposition we've played against, really. So I'm pleased. I'm pleased with where we are. I can see progression. I can see factors and points in our game that are massively going to be fundamental for us this year, for us to gain results. So there's plenty of positives. I say that as well, that there's also loads that we can learn from and certainly keep improving on. So that's our goal, really.
Are you like the fans that say the likes of these games against Manchester City and Liverpool are not going to define your season?
Well, look, I think as always, you understand the challenge there, and you understand what you're coming up against, and you realise the severity of it and how difficult that can be. But I think we've showed in all of them games, really, maybe bar the weekend, where I think it's fair to say you don't probably deserve to get anything out of the game. Now, did I see the game being the result in terms of a scoreline? No, but I think it's fair to say that we didn't deserve to get anything out of the game. But certainly other games, like Liverpool and Man United, while that saying is your season's not going to be judged on that, we were hugely competitive and 30 seconds and maybe a minute away from getting something out of the game. So as always, we'll go into games this year trying to be as competitive as we can. It's a game of football at the end of the day against 11 men, and we'll always try and give the best version of ourselves and try and be as hugely as competitive as we can.
I don't really like the phrase "there's no easy games" in the Premier League, because everybody knows that, but you obviously anticipate this next set of fixtures as being much closer and competitive, given the nature of the opposition.
We hope so, and I think you're right. There ain't no easy game. That's the facts. There's no easy game in which I see the best, most competitive division in world football, really. So there is no easy game, and fundamentally, what we need to understand is we need to approach every game with the same outlook as we've approached these games. A name at the top of a paper of who you're against, really. It comes down to what you're going to bring to the game. And we've brought large elements to our game which have been hugely important and made us competitive. And we need to continue that because this division can bite you if you don't.
It might seem a statement of the obvious, but have you had to work a lot more on the defensive aspect? And might be a bit contradictory, really, given that you only conceded 16 goals in the whole of last season. But this is a totally different league. 13 conceded already, but is it something that you targeted at the beginning of the season that you would have to work more on?
Definitely, there's different large elements to what we do. Is first and foremost to give ourselves a rock solid base. Really, it's a new squad as well. There's a lot of new players in this team, a whole different back unit from where we were last year, from keeper to centre half to midfield players who are mainstays in this team. So we're having to drill and certainly educate and coach and give ourselves that. The level's gone up, of course it is. You get more stressed in this division than what you do in the Championship, and that's very clear, and it's a clinical league that you can't afford to lose any slight minute of focus, really, because it punishes you. So look, there's always aspects. Our game's changed dramatically from where it was last year. The team we were last year in an attacking phase as well is probably going to be a very different team to what you see, and I think you've seen evidence of that this year, really. So we'll keep improving every aspect, and on the defensive side, of course, we'll try and give ourselves always a solid base to build from.
Yeah, and at the other end of the pitch, can we just talk about the form of Jadon Anthony? There's only a couple of games he's not scored in. How pleasing is that for you?
Really pleased for Jay. Obviously familiar with Jay as well, so I'm really pleased for him. I believe he's a Premier League football player, and I think you're probably seeing elements of that, really. Not had a long period in this division, and he's probably been a bit stop-start for when he has been in and around it. He's got an opportunity now, and he's grabbing that, and it doesn't surprise me. His quality and what I see, his work ethic every day, what he stands for as a human being as well, gives him a unbelievable platform to go and do what he's doing, really. So delighted for him.
Good character to work with.
Yeah, unbelievable character. Yeah, first and foremost, unbelievable character. Someone who diligent, but hugely professional. Someone who constantly wants to improve, all ears, eyes, and then obviously added to that is his raw ability and his technical ability, which we all see really. So it gives him a massive chance, and hence why you're probably seeing the performances he's producing at the moment.
Your opponents on Sunday, Aston Villa, they've only won once in the Premier League as well. Obviously, they've had European games to play, one of those on Thursday. It's that old familiar phrase, is this a good time to play them? I know it's always difficult at Villa Park as well.
I'd probably tell you after the game. Who knows? Look, they're coming off a couple of good results, and we're playing against a very good side. And a really well-coached team, a top manager with top players who we see last year and we've seen over the course of the last couple of years, what we're up against in a tough stadium as well, really. So many factors, like you say, coming out of a game from midweek. I expect nothing but a tough test here for us. And likewise, we need to bring our game to Villa to make it as tough as for them.
Have you been a little surprised at their results this season?
Early part of the season, I don't think anything really can surprise you too much. Probably everything's just settling down a little bit. You get a real judge on things over a longer period of games. But like I say, I see bits to their game, and I see their general game as a well-organised team that have real quality in certain areas, really. So yeah.
Just finally from me, what does the international break look like for Scott Parker? Is it business as usual?
Yeah. Well, it'll probably take some downtime, maybe a few days, just to get some oxygen a little bit. Same with the players, really rest up. And then we'll probably be back to the training ground and trying to fine-tune things, trying to improve, trying to keep getting better as a team, really, for the next big challenge after it.
Good luck Sunday.
Cheers, Adam. Thank you.
Just on the Anthony example, Scott, how satisfying is it when it's a player that's stepped up with you, that was doing it for you last season? I appreciate Jadon's measurable in goals and assists, and others have stepped up well as well, but how good an example does that set to everybody in the squad? It
sets a brilliant example, and like I said, fair play to Jadon, really. He was vitally important for us last year. He has been in my time as a coach, really, whether that was at Bournemouth as well when we got promoted. So I'm really pleased for him that he's another player that's going up to the next level, really. And Jadon's had a small sample size of the Premier League, but not probably consistently. And this was a big challenge and a big test for a lot of these boys, what we're here, Jadon being one of them. I'm delighted and pleased for him that he's taken on that challenge and shown his real quality.
How hard is it to get continuity when you've got different personnel? You know, I smiled about being asked about your defensive record this season versus last season. When you look at the actual people involved, it's a very different equation. How do you keep going what you put in place last season when you've got, frankly, different people?
Yeah. You probably just fall back on to last year. You learn from last year. We was in this same situation last year, really. This team, early part of the season, wasn't the team that we see the back end of it. It wasn't the team we see 3 months in. It was a constant evolving machine, really, that got you to that position. My experiences, my learning from that, how I coached, what detail I gave, how we did it in meeting rooms, the continuity of how we press and our pressing structures. All of these things are factors what I take in consideration when a new group come together again. And like you said, it's another new group, and this is what happens, and you need to quickly get them up to speed, really. So there's challenges there, and that's obviously difficult, but that's my job. That's what I get paid for, and I try and move that as quick as I can to get us to a position everyone obviously knows their roles and responsibilities, and that's what I need to do.
Is it even harder to do that given the level has stepped up? I guess promoted teams' records in the Premier League versus the Championship shows us how hard it is.
Definitely, yeah. Look, it's a bigger challenge because of the level you're going into, and there's a big that's there for all of us, and we'll constantly put perspective on things, and we'll understand that. What we did last year on the defensive side, whatever league you're in, was an absolute incredible feat, and we take great confidence from that. Certainly I do. I think the players should as well. And I think there's loads of reasonings why that was the case. That wasn't just down to the quality of one individual or two individuals. That I think that was a lot of work and a lot of detail that went in, and that was a group that listened, understood, engaged in everything. And we'll obviously, that's the part we're in now with this new group.
Just as far as your season so far is concerned, we've talked understandably and rightly, I think, about the turf and about how important it is when you're at home. Daft question, but how hard is it to get something away from home in the Premier League? Obviously, you've not got a point yet, and it's only very early days, but how marked is the difference between home and away?
There's a big difference. There certainly is a big difference. There's always a difference in any league you go in terms of going away from home. There's always a probably a little bit more of a challenge. I fall back onto the games that, or certainly the United game where we was away, I felt we was hugely competitive. So yeah, look, our home form this year will be vital for us. And I think this year, for the 3 home games we've had, I think we've proven that. I think the stadium, our fan base, the players have gave me certainly a sense that we're going to make this very, very tough to come, for teams to come. And we need to maintain that and keep that. And of course, we need to get points on the road as well. There's certain bits to our game that excites me about that and gives me the feeling that we can be competitive as well.
Is that something that players have to learn as they go, the fact that you can harness the positivity and the support at home, but maybe you have to thrive on the hostility when you're away?
Well, you need a constant belief. That's one thing for sure, and that's something that we've spoken about consistently over the start of this season as a group. That belief really, and that needs to be a mainstay for us. Like I said, look, every Saturday there's 2 goals, there's some lines on a pitch, and the ball's the same size, and there's 11 men. Now there's different variables in the quality, of course there is, in terms of the man will stand in front of you, but it's a game of football, and a stadium that is maybe hostile, or a stadium, this is your home stadium, which you've got supporting you. We need to understand that we have to bring a certain level to every single game, and we will do.
And just on Villa, there's been a few stories around them. You know, they took a while to score their first goal, and then they got their first win, as is always the way in the Premier League. Do you consider them very much in that bracket of European teams, even though the league table doesn't suggest that at the minute?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and there'll always be a noise around someone one week or the other, and a team have not scored in 3 games, or they've done this, they've done that. But Aston Villa are a very good team with a very, very good coach, and they've got huge quality all over the pitch, and we'll respect that for sure. We know the level we're going into, but like I said, we're not fearful for 1 second here. We'll approach this game like we've approached the majority this year, and we'll go and give the best version of ourselves and make this a real competitive game, hopefully.
And just lastly, what are your previous experiences at Villa Park? Have you got good memories?
You know what, Dan, I can't remember. Things go so quick for me, I can't even remember, to be honest with you. You put me on the spot there, so I'll have to get back in the office and have a little flip through, or you maybe could tell me next time you see me.
We'll get Googling, thanks.